And welcome back to Wandering Through Wayne's World on WRPB TCV. And we've spoken so many times about such an important subject. And when you talk about law and the legal industry, you see a bunch of commercials that talk about, hey, I'll give you $3 million, I'll get you $1 million. You know, just if it sounds too good to be true, most times it's too good to be true. I run across people that are in industries that get it and are there, and they do the one-on-one, and they don't just constantly pass stuff off to other people. And with me is Dennis Fano from Fano Law.
Yep, Fano Law, PA.
Okay. You're a PI attorney, personal injury.
Yes.
How long have you been practicing?
Oh, about 18 years.
Okay. So, first question is, why'd you pick personal injury?
I just like the idea of the game. I like helping people. It wasn't about hourly billing for me. It's about taking a case and trying to prove it up for somebody else.
So, my mind, because I've been through a lot of dealings with PI cases and stuff, is a client comes to you, do you basically know what that case is going to end up?
No, and don't believe the ones that say they do.
Okay.
I never, even if I think I do, I never tell a client what it's worth in the beginning.
Okay.
Because you never know.
Right, and it's interesting because I went through someone who had a case, and like 2 months later she got hit again in the back, and they said, let's settle this one case and we'll work on the second case. Well, they did that for peanuts, and the second case went 7 years, $43,000 in medical bills, $25,000 wanted to settle, okay, and I said no. She doesn't want to settle. We hired you. We have faith and trust in you. And he said, well, I'm going to go to court, tell the judge I want to be off the case.
Right.
And after 7 years, who's going to pick up a case like that?
Right.
So she ended up walking away with $3,000 and is in pain constantly. And that is what happens when you go to an attorney that advertises on TV that they're going to get you $3 million, because she was told a story that, in my opinion, wasn't factual.
Right.
So someone comes into the office, I mean, how do you decipher? Because let's face it, you still have lights to pay for, just like we do here. How do you decipher if a case has validity and that you want to take forward?
Well, you always have the 4 elements of negligence: the duty, the breach, the causation, and the damages. Those are your 4 elements. And if you can show and you can see from your interview with the client that those 4 elements will probably be met, that's a risk that the attorney has to take.
Okay.
Attorneys get paid pretty good money to get, third contingency in a lot of these cases.
I know. I want to say mostly, like, I thought everybody's on that 1/3 contingency.
No, that's a general. Florida Supreme Court has authorized that as a general standard, and that's negotiable as well.
And most people don't know that either.
Sure.
It's negotiable, but it's not negotiable the other way. You can't take more than 1/3. Is that correct?
No, that's a bar violation. You
That's
can't
a bar
take more. Now, if you're going to trial and it's in the contract, and you
Right.
have to prove the liability at trial, you can raise it up to 40%. But once you get over the $1 million mark, it starts coming down again. So it's important to read your contract. I suggest you take your contract home. I don't like the clients that go on and do an app and now they have an attorney. Take the contract home, review it with your family. It's a family decision. It's a team effort. That client needs to be involved in that case as much as the attorney.
And it's a face-to-face.
It is.
In my opinion.
It is.
Okay, don't go just because you see it on TV, because you know what? Some of those attorneys are spending millions of dollars a year in advertising. And it becomes almost like a factory. You come in, they take your case, they don't care, and then they give it to a paralegal to work to settlement. And they hope it settles and be done with it. For me, I don't care what, you're buying a house, you're buying a car, you're using an attorney, meet face to face. Always good to know who you're dealing with. Always good to see if you have that connection with them. I think those things are very, very important. One of the biggest problems that I believe that you come across is Mary has an accident and she has a viable case. But Mary and the person that hit her didn't buy the proper insurance to start with. Okay?
Big problem in Florida.
Right. So I always want to give that information out to the viewers. Uninsured motorists and stacking. 2 of the most important things in your insurance?
Most important thing is uninsured motorists for sure.
Okay.
A lot of policies are on stacking. I'm not going to get into whether it's stacking or on stacking, but then it comes down to how many vehicles in your household are on that policy.
Right.
The most important thing is a lot of clients, they think they have full coverage because they have bodily injury liability, which ironically is not necessarily required in Florida. You have to have PIP and property damage.
Right.
They'll choose to get bodily injury and they think they have full coverage until they get in an accident. And then they realize that they signed a form that basically rejected uninsured motorist coverage. So I say, call your agent, go online, make sure you have uninsured motorist coverage if you're going to drive in Florida, because the person that hit you did not have to have bodily injury coverage. It's very, very important to have uninsured motorist coverage.
And you know, and you said one of the key factors, get in touch with your insurance person, face to face. Don't go online and buy it. Kind of get that face to face. You'll always feel better in the long run having that connection. All right, so there's an accident. Correct me if I'm wrong. As soon as the accident happens, adrenaline kicks in.
Sure.
And you think nothing's wrong. Correct? Is that what
I
happens?
can't give medical advice, but it's not uncommon, and I've been in accidents myself. And
Okay.
when you first get in that accident, and you have the impact, your muscles and your stress level is tight. And so you don't necessarily feel that pain until you wake up the next day or so.
So how long do you have from the time of the accident to get to a doctor, to get to an attorney, to get all these pieces in play?
Well, the way this PIP statute is currently, you have 14 days to get to a doctor. If you go to the emergency room, you get a medical doctor, that 14 days is met. Or if you don't go to the emergency room, you go to another doctor that can do what's called an EMC. They can refer out to that, emergency medical condition. At that point, the medical portion is met. Bottom line is, if you're injured in an accident, get to the emergency room, get checked out.
My next question is really kind of interesting because a lot of people, like I said, don't think they're hurt.
Mm-hmm.
And they think that I was only traveling 5 miles an hour.
Right.
Does that matter? Does your speed matter all the time?
Speed doesn't matter all the time. It's generally the way the body, you can be reaching for your iPhone or your CD player if you still have one. And then you get the impact, you can hurt your shoulder, and you can be going 3 miles an hour. There's different things. Every case is unique in its own way.
Okay, because the interesting thing about one of the cases that we were around was we were sitting behind a car that was waiting for a gate to open.
Mm-hmm.
And all of a sudden the car started to back up. So she turned around and he rammed into her. And that threw off her neck and back.
Sure.
He was only going like 5 miles an hour. So obviously speed is not, I mean, just because you got hit at a slow speed doesn't mean you didn't get injured.
And when evaluating a personal injury case, speed is a factor, but it's not the factor.
Okay.
There's a lot of other factors. It's your subjective complaints. It's the objective medical findings. It's the discipline to go to the doctor when you're supposed to go to the doctor. There's a lot of other things that come into the value of a claim, and it comes into making you better. The whole idea is to make you whole again.
Right.
You have to do what you have to do to mitigate those damages in Florida. You can't sit around and think that everything's going to get better unless you're doing what you have to do. And a good lawyer is going to sit you down and explain to you, not give you medical advice, but explain to you how it works in Florida with the insurance industries and what you have to do to mitigate your own damages.
Okay, so someone has an accident, they call you up. What kind of questions do you ask them?
Everything. I want to know everything. I want to know what kind of insurance they have, I want to know who they have. I want to know everything about the person that hit them, where they worked, how much money they made, who their children are, how young they are. Are they minors? There's a lot of other factors in evaluating a case. I want to know everything about your life. When you come into my office, it becomes a family decision. You're like a family. I know everything about what's going on in your day-to-day life, and we make sure that you're going to an ethical doctor that's going to do the right thing to make you whole again. That's and as quickly as possible.
Okay, what happens, we know this scenario, the insurance company job is to make sure you don't get paid. Okay, and through one of the depositions I was at, the guy came in, the insurance adjuster or the attorney, whatever it was for the insurance company, said, I know that you're hurt and I know that you're in a lot of pain, but my job is to make sure you don't get paid. And he flat out said that. And it's weird, but I had a lot of respect for the guy because he said what the truth was. His job is for you not to get paid.
That's interesting. I've never had an adjuster or defense attorney actually say that. I've had them, it's understood that they don't want to pay more than they have to.
Right.
That's
And so it's always, I don't know if it's always, but I would think majority of the time it's a low ball offer
Mm-hmm.
just to get the case off the books and be done with it.
Right.
How do you decipher that, hey, you know what, they offered $53, you should settle? I mean, you have all these facts that you've already acquired. Is it your responsibility when they offer you $53 to settle my case? Is it your responsibility to call me and tell me that they offer?
Every offer has to be related to a client in a reasonable time.
Okay.
It's the client's decision to settle the case. The attorney should never make a client settle, because there's and it's subjective, but there is an element of justice. What is the justice? Where is the justice? If you don't feel like you're getting justice, you don't want to settle, I don't think ethically you should settle.
What happened in these situations, and there were 5 of them, with the same attorney, it was the guilt trip. Hey, we're finding that juries are not wanting to pay, they're thinking this, they're thinking that, and it's like they're almost snowing you into settling. An interesting case was that everybody used to speak to, they don't talk about it anymore, was the McDonald's case.
Right.
Okay? And everybody said, the woman, let me think how this works. Everybody was blaming the woman, but I think the facts of that case showed that McDonald's had been cited many times for too hot coffee. They offered her like almost nothing. All she wanted was her doctor bills and medical bills to be paid.
Well, the McDonald's case is an interesting one because there's a difference between compensatory damages and punitive damages, and people don't realize there's a difference sometimes.
Okay.
First of all, the McDonald's case, if I remember correctly, it's been a while. That one went through the appeals court. By the time it came back, it wasn't exactly what people think it was.
Right.
But she did receive a compensatory amount for actual damages, which was reasonable. And there was that punitive element. The punitive damages was to punish the corporation for not doing the right thing. They knew the coffee was too hot, and they kept serving it because their statistics showed that they'd make more money by serving hotter
Right.
coffee. And they chose to profit over the well-being of the people, right? And so there was a punitive element. And there's other cases, there's plenty of other cases where punitive damages come into play. That doesn't necessarily all go to the victim either.
Okay. Well, again, a lot of people say, oh, but the attorney made so much money. Well, there's a lot of work, time, and effort into putting a case together, finding the facts, doing the research. You end up paying experts. Okay, so it's not like, hey, it settled for $300,000 and the attorney made $100,000 off of me. No, it didn't work. It's not that simple. Okay, as people might think, you had to pay for experts, and if you have to go to court and trial, it's even more, I guess, because you have to bring in experts.
Sure, and if you don't win the case, you get nothing.
It's really, see, now we were told, well, if you don't win the case, then you're going to have to pay this, this, and that.
Who's paying this, and that?
That the person who got hit
Right.
was told that if I go to court and you don't win, you're going to have to pay court costs, this and that and the other.
It's not uncommon, and it's in the contracts that the client would pay the costs, not the fees.
Okay.
The bigger risk for that client is by the time it gets to the trial or it gets close to trial, there's probably what's called an offer of judgment out there, which the defendant would have filed already, and basically says you have to accept our offer, and if we get more than 25% of the offer, I think it is, as a percentage of the offer, then if you don't get that, then you have to pay all the defense fees and costs, and that's a lot more money than they expect.
These are the reason that Dennis is here is because it's really important that you guys know from somebody in the industry exactly what it is, and not this wishy-washy thing that you see on most TV commercials, because it's not exactly like that. Hey, I got $100,000, I got them $300,000, I got $1 million. It's not, and it really, for you guys and for the person that was in the accident, it shouldn't even be that. It should be, how do I get my life to go from where I am now, hurting constantly, to as normal as I can get again? It's really about the person's health and well-being.
The whole idea of tort law is to make you whole, not to make you rich. That's the difference.
Okay.
And we get $1 million settlements too. We get $1 million results too. But you also probably have a couple $100,000 in medical bills out there.
Right. Right.
You're not going to go to your chiropractor and have $12,000 in medical bills and think you can get $1 million in a case. That's generally not the case. Now,
Right.
It can happen. If it happens, don't hold me to it. But in the 18 years I've been doing it, if you have $12,000-$15,000 in medical bills, you're not going to see $1 million settlement, generally speaking. And that's just the reality of it.
Most of the stuff is a lot of the stuff is neck and back, as far as I know. Okay, car accident, got hit in the back, your back is out.
It's a common
your
injury.
neck,
It's a common
right.
injury.
Okay, so the question is, it always seems people want to be swayed to go to an orthopedic surgeon for surgery. If they go for surgery, because now their bill is higher, does that mean they're going to generate more income?
I don't like to look at it that way, and I don't like the attorneys that think of it that way. I think they should go to an orthopedic, go to a medical specialist if they need it. The other side of that is if you have to go to a medical specialist and it's justified, you probably have a bigger injury,
Right.
permanent injury, you met the threshold, and that case is valued more because you've lost more.
You know, guys, it's so important to know what all the clear facts are, not just what you see or hear in a commercial or see on TV. That's why we did this, okay? So I want you to go to your insurance policy. I want you to look at it. I want you to get in contact with your insurance agent, okay? And have a face-to-face and ask him about uninsured motorists, if you have it. If you don't have it, suffice to say, get it. It's probably the most important thing on your insurance
I
policy.
believe
With that, how do people get in touch with you if they have any questions?
You always go to fanolaw.com.
FANO.
F-A-N-O, F as in Frank, A-N-O, fanolaw.com. You can look us up on Facebook. We have our webpage. A lot of Google reviews. And you always give me a call.
And a number at the office?
Palm City office is 772-600-2648.
So you have Palm City, where else?
In Boca Raton. But our
Oh.
Palm City office is our main office. at this
Right.
point.
Everybody, check him out. Give him a call. I'm sure if you have a question, they'll be willing to answer it for you. The other thing I always suggest is that you take an attorney's number and put it in your phone. Because the last thing you want to be doing is when you're in that ambulance or you're in the accident, looking at a billboard and saying, well, there's an attorney, I'm going to take that one. You should always be prepared. I personally think that it's almost like an insurance policy that I hope you never have to use,
All right.
okay? But you have it there so you can go, hey, you know what? I saw Dennis on the air. He seemed like the kind of person I would want to deal with. I called his office once for a question. I have it on my phone. I'm ready. I need an attorney. I can call him. I don't have to search for one. No yellow pages, so you can get over that. And Google is just because you see it on Google or on the internet doesn't mean it's true. Always believe that. Just because you saw it on the internet
Sure.
doesn't mean it's true. Dennis, I want to thank you for coming on.
Thanks for having me. I appreciate it.
Everybody have a great day. We'll be right back.